So we were talking about attaining the Supreme. So here in this chapter, they were talking about what to do at the time of death, Antakale. How to remember Krishna. Okay, so this is the art of dying. Krishna talks in this chapter. So first, before that, let us pay obeisance to Sri Radha Govinda. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Nananjana Salakaya Chakshurmitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Abhishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Ayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vittam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadotam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakana Vittam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dino Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatrapyascha Kripa Sindhave Evacha Patitam Nam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Tarini Jayo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So let us start. So what was that we were talking about yesterday? Was the Krishna's answers to Arjuna's questions. What was that? Why it came? Because he was the 8 technical questions, and in the first 4 verses itself, Krishna answers all the questions except for the last one, how to remember Krishna at the time of death. Antakale means how to remember. So that he spends about 24 verses, he talks about that. Okay. So what was the thing why this came about? Because in the last chapter, 7th chapter, Krishna said, Jara Marna Mokshaya Mam Ashtritya Etanti Te Brahma. That he uses these words, Brahma, Adhyatma, Adi Daivam, Adi Bhuta, Adi Yajna. Then he says Prayana Kalji. So here he says that those who are full conscious of me with the Supreme Lord to be the gowning thing, the material manifestation of the demigods. So who understands and knows me, they will know me even at the time of death. So once he says that, so Arjuna wants to know what are these factors. So the Brahman is nothing but Jiva, that is a living entity. Adhyatma is the nature of Jiva, right? And karma is the activities which leads to the material body we have. Adi Bhuta is the material nature. Adi Deva is the demigods. Adi Yajna is the endeavor of sacrifice. That is a Paramatma. Paramatma who lives in every living entity. And where does he reside? He resides in the heart of all. So then Arjuna wants to know how to remember Krishna at the time of death. So Krishna is saying only by yoga. Abhyasa yogena. Practice remembrance throughout the life. So remembering Krishna at the time of death. Actually, this life is like an exam for us. We are in a school. This universe is a school and we are the students. And the life lessons and acharyas are the teachers. And what is it we are learning? We are learning the thing to go back to the Supreme Abode. So how to go back? This is what we are talking about in this particular chapter. One attains whatever one remembers at the time of death. So whatever you remember at the time of that final love, you will get that nature. This is what the Lord is saying. So you remember me. So Krishna is recommending Arjuna to undeviatedly meditate on him, dedicate his activities to him, and that way you can attain him. Okay. So over at the time of death, which is body, remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Ante kale cha mameva, that is alone who remembers me, smarana mukta kalevaram, that is when he is quitting this body, et prayacha, he will attain my nature, mad bhava. And nashti atra samshaya, there is no doubt. So this is the important verse, which is the message which is Krishna is giving us. That is, you will attain my nature, there is no doubt of it. And we have to remember him. And what happens if you don't remember him and remember something else? Yamam vyapi smaran bhavam taya jati ante kalavaram tam tam evaiti kaunteya sada tad bhavam. So whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes, right? So of course, one's thoughts during the course of one's life accumulate to influence one's thoughts at the moment of death. So it is not that you suddenly you'll remember him at the final hour. It depends on how you've been throughout your life. And that's what happens, influences your thoughts at the moment of death. So this life creates one's next life. If in one's present life, one lives in the mode of goodness and always thinks of Krishna, it is possible for one to remember him at the end of one's life. That will help one to transfer to the transcendental nature of Krishna. So if he is transcendently absorbed in Krishna's service, then his next body will be transcendental, not material. So Prabhupada writes, so we have to cultivate that. We have to cultivate this thoughts during our lifetime. You have to remember Krishna throughout. It's not just that you will be able to do it at the end of the final exam. No. He says if you do it throughout your life, then you'll get. Otherwise, whatever thoughts you have been, how you have been living, what you have been attitude, and then that will decide your next body. So this is very clearly here Krishna is explaining in these two verses. So on how to, and importance of remembering Krishna, he stresses that. And it's not that you should leave out your prescribed duties. You have to do a prescribed duties and still remember him. And how to think in Krishna in practical life is by constant chanting Hare Krishna Mahamra. That way you'll be engaging your three senses, your tongue, mind are engaged, and you can attain. This is what our Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, that this is the Yuga Mantra. This is how one can remember Krishna, benefit of chanting. Sorry, I went off to no, nothing, right? So importance, and because why? He is the real enjoyer. So he is the person, and we need to meditate on. This is the important message we get here. And how do we have to practice it by? And there are people who do meditation by Yoga Mishra Bhakti, that thing. They think of Supreme Personality of God when quinting is bed and reach. That's also one way of doing it, but it's a very tedious manner. Okay. So, and then he talks about how to remember him. He is the knower of everything, past, present, future, and he is the Purnam, he is the original, he is the cause of all causes. All are born out of him. I mean, he is a controller, and he is smallest, the smaller than smallest, and he is the maintainer. He maintains the entire thing. And all the planets are floating by his energy. That's what we explained it in 7th chapter. That is, he is maintaining the whole thing like the pearls of which the thread is holding the string of pearls. And he is a Parupam. He has got a form. It's a transcendental form. And his energies are, his powers are inconceivable. It's not that easy to understand. So, how to think of Krishna is really given us and is translated beyond the nature. This is how Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva or also meditate on the Lord all the time. And Yoga Mishra Bhaktis, they do that tapas like the Ashtanga Yoga, renounce their sense gratification, they fix their mind on the heart, on the Lord, and they keep chanting Om. And then they go, but they will be able to reach only the Brahma Jyoti. Whereas the persons who are in Krishna consciousness, who are remembering Krishna and doing the devotional service, so they go back to Krishna Lokam. So that is what here Krishna is stressing out. That is pure devotional service. How to remember him through bhakti. That's what we stopped at that point. By constant engagement, devotional service, undeviatedly remembers Krishna, easily attains the Lord, far from the miseries of this miserable material world. So from the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery. He says it's a dukkhalaya and ashras. It's a temporary place where in repeated birth and death takes place. But one who attains my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. Mam upetya. So one who attains my abode, there's no need to take birth again. So, but other planets are all place of misery. Okay. So then he continues. So then when he says that you attain my abode, then he has to explain about his abode, isn't it? He has to explain about his supreme abode and what's the difference between his spiritual world and the material world. So in these verses, he is comparing the material world and the spiritual world. So once he told us the destination, where to go and where it is and why we have to go there. Now he's explaining that by giving the difference between the material world and the spiritual world, because that knowledge we need to know. That will inspire us to go back to him. He says material world is continually being created and destroyed. This is true, isn't it? Even our own body, every cell, you know that keeps changing. That is the thing, it has some lifetime. And even everything around our nature, all has got a lifetime. And it's always being destroyed, created and destroyed. So their cells are created, then they are destroyed, and there's always a change in the material world. Okay? Whereas beyond this ocean of creation and destruction, there lies the spirit, Krishna's abode, where he is present and can be attained only by unalloyed devotion, by pure bhakti. So this is what he sees in these verses. By human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day. And such also is the duration of his night. So Krishna says that 1,000 ages taken together form the duration of Brahma's one day. And such also is the duration of his night. And what happens during the day and the night of Brahma? At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from the unmanifest state. And thereafter, when the night falls, they are merged into the unmanifest. So during the day of Brahma, all living entities are manifested. And once the night falls, the whole thing gets annihilated and unmanifested. And they go into the unmanifested state. Okay. So, and what is the one day of Brahma is 1,000 Divyakas. Again and again, when Brahma's day arrives, all living entities come into being, and with the arrival of Brahma's night, they are helplessly annihilated. So in these three verses, we come to know that during the day of Brahma only we are manifested, and during the night it is unmanifested. And then we go back to the womb of the Lord Vishnu. So this happens during the night, and then Brahma, the timeline is given here. So this is the Goloka chart, which has been actually described in the Brahma Samhita. From there only they have taken this thing. This is the spiritual world where the Lord Krishna lives, that is the Goloka. And this is the Vaikuntha, where all the Narayanas, Vaikunthas are. And here is the Brahma Jyoti. And then below is the material world. So here, material world is the how we have saw the Mahatattva, we explained in the 7th chapter, where from the pores of the Lord Mahavishnu, that is a Karnadaksha Vishnu, lot of globes come out. And in one such globe is what we are in this universe, where in each globe, Karnadaksha Vishnu enters. Only then the matter get energized. Otherwise, the matter cannot be active unless there's a superior energy in it. So once Garbhodakshina Vishnu enters into all, then he lies down and from his navel the lotus stem comes up where Lord Brahma is created first. So once he is born, then he is given the charge of subcreating the other planets. So this is the 14 planets which he created after that. Okay, that is this is Bhuloka is the where we are, that is Earth planet, Bhuloka. And above that, we have Bhuvarloka, Swargaloka, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Satyaloka, where is the Brahma's abode. And below that, we have Atala, Vittala, Sutala, Talatala, Matala, Rasatala. And then there, Patala. And then below that is the hellish planets. So this is the thing. And this is the Devi Dhamma. Okay, and above that is the Ruddha Mahadev. Okay, so once he, during the day of Brahma, all the living entities come from the womb of Mahavishnu. Okay, and annihilated during the night, everything gets annihilated and goes back into the womb of Kshiradakshina Vishnu. Everything gets annihilated and they go back here. And during the day, all are manifested again and everything comes back. So this is the changes which takes place today. So one day of thing is known as 1,000 Divyogas. That is, one Divyoga is 4.3 million years. 1,000 of that is one Kalpa or day of Brahma. That is 4.3 billion years. So we are in the 7th mantra. Okay, and these calculations are given in the Bhagavatam. So is that the timeline. So what happens here? At the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest from it. So one is we get annihilated when we die, when we leave this body and take another body, and that is our annihilation. And then next annihilation will be when Brahma's night comes, right? And final is when the whole thing, when the lifetime of Brahma is over, and then the entire thing gets, like Mahapralaya takes place and everything gets into the womb of Mahavishnu. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, the less intelligent who try to remain within this material world may be elevated to higher planets and then again must come down to this planet Earth. During the daytime of Brahma, they can exhibit their activities on higher and lower planets within this material world. But at the coming of Brahma's night, they are all annihilated. In the day, they receive various bodies for material activities. At night, they no longer have bodies, but remain compact in the body of Vishnu. Then again, they are manifest at the arrival of Brahma's day. Bhutva, Bhutva, Pralayati. During the day, they become manifest, and at night, they are annihilated. So this is what happens in the material world. There's a cycle of creation and annihilation. But Krishna continues to say, there is another nature which is eternal and transcendental to this manifested, unmanifested matter. And it is always there. It is never annihilated. Even when the material universe is, cosmic universe gets annihilated. It is true, supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. Actually, our material, this cosmic manifestation is just like, 1/4 part of the whole thing. Spiritual world is very vast. Okay. And it is always growing and growing and growing. So that which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which having attained one never returns. That is my supreme abode. Okay. Supreme personality of Godhead, who is all attainable by only unalloyed devotion. So he is all pervading and is situated within him. Okay, let us see what is written in the purport. Hare Krishna. Anyone can volunteer. Hare Krishna. Can read the purport. It is here clearly said.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
It is here clearly stated that the supreme destination from which There is no return is the abode of Krishna, the Supreme Person. The Brahma Samhita describes the Supreme Abode as a Ananda Sinmaya Rasa, a place where everything is full of spiritual bliss. All the
Variegated as manifest.
There is of quality of spiritual bliss. Nothing there is a material. That is variegatedness is expanded as the spiritual expansion of Supreme Godhead Himself. But the manifestation there is totally of spiritual energy as explained in the chapter 7. As far as this material world is concerned, although the Lord is always is in his supreme abode, he is nonetheless all pervading by his material energy. So by his spiritual and material energies, he is present everywhere, both in the material and in the spiritual universes. Yasyantaha Santa means that everything is sustained within him, within either his spiritual or material energy. The Lord is all pervading by these two energies. To
Very good.
enter.
So this is what here is clearly said, that Brahma Samhita describes the supreme abode as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. That means it's always full of bliss. So there is not even the trees blissful, the surabhi, the cows, surabhis, the plants, the thing, everything is blissful. Nothing, you're like, kalpa vriksha. So all desire trees and whatever thing, everything, and they're all the time worshipping the Lord. So even when you go to the spiritual world, you continue your devotional service to the Lord. That actually, you can go there, and depending upon your rasas, either you go as a Vatsalya rasa, or like a Shanta rasa, or like any of the primary rasas are there. So we can go back to the abode in any of those rasas, depending upon our nature. Okay, so there it's always spiritual bliss. And whereas Lord is there in the abode, supreme abode, but he's also in the material world because he's pervading by his material energy. So here he clearly says the Lord is pervading by these two energies, either his spiritual energy or material energy. Both are divine. So how to enter? Anybody continue, Mataji, if you want to enter Krishna's supreme abode.
To enter Krishna's supreme abode or the innumerable Vaikuntha planets is possible only by bhakti, devotional service, as clearly indicated here by the word bhaktiya. No other process can help one attain that supreme abode. The Vedas, Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.21 also describe the supreme abode and the supreme personality of Godhead. Eko Vasi Sarva Gaha Krishna. In that abode, there is only one supreme personality of Godhead, whose name is Krishna. He is the supreme merciful deity, and although situated there is one, he has expanded himself into millions and millions of planetary expansions. The Vedas compare the Lord to the tree standing still and bearing many varieties of fruits, flowers, and changing leaves. The planetary expansions of the Lord who preside over the Vaikuntha planets are four-armed, and they are known by a variety of names: Purushottama, Trivikrama, Keshava, Madhava, Aniruddha, Rishikesha, Sankarshana, Pratyumna, Sridhara, Vasudeva, Damodara, Janardana, Narayana, Vamana,
Padmanabha, etc. So here it very clearly says you to enter the supreme abode, we have to go only by bhakti, only devotional service is clearly indicated. And Prabhupada also gives other references, like it is also said in Gopala Tapani Upanishad and in Vedas, where it clearly says the Supreme Lord is the Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, his name is Krishna. And also the expansions of the Lord is many. Okay. And in the Vaikuntha planets, there are 400 forms. They are known as by variety of names. Purushottama, Trivikma. In Lord Rama, Lord Narasimha, everybody stays in the Vaikuntha planets. So there either you can go to the Vaikuntha planets or you can go up to the Goloka planet. Okay. So that are the abodes where the Lord stays. And now Brahma Samhita also confirms that although Lord is always in the supreme abode, Goloka Vrindavan, he is also all pervading. So that everything is going on nicely. Goloka eva nivashtati akilam atma bhutaha. As stated in the Vedas, that is in the Upanishads, Svetasvatara Upanishad, Parasya Saktir Vividdaiva Sruyate Swabhavikti Jnana Bala Kriyacha. His energies are so expansive, they systematically conduct everything in the cosmic manifestation without a flaw. Although the Lord is far, far away. But though he is so far, far away, he immediately comes immediately. There's nothing that so far and he can't come. I mean, it takes a lot of time to come to us. Nothing of that sort. He can even, they come in a matter of seconds. That says in the Upanishads. So here Prabhupada gives the references from Upanishads, from Brahma Samhita, how all the same thing is confirmed, whatever the Lord is saying here in Bhagavad Gita. Okay. So there is a spiritual world. The descriptions are got from their Vedic literature as well as from Upanishads, right? So, and it can be attainable only by unalloyed pure bhakti. Although he is present in his abode, he is pervading and his everything is situated within him. That is, he is pervading in the material energy as well as in spiritual energy. So, what we see in the thing, his abode is not different from him and it is eternal. There is no birth and death. It's always there. Okay. And it's infallible. His superior energy is opposite to material energy in the quality. Okay. Unlimited bliss. Why it is opposite to material energy is material energy as such, it can't, some living entity, some superior energy has to be inside that to activate. Otherwise, it will be just inert. Okay. That's why Garbhadaksha Vishnu has to enter to activate the universe, globe, and then Shirodakshina Vishnu, and he has to expand as Shirodakshina Vishnu as Paramatma to in every living entity. Okay. So, and it is unlimited bliss, opposed to the material world, which is full of miseries. See, that full of miseries is in every little thing, even a small thing, like if you eat some gulab jam. The first gulab jam will be very tasty. Then you take another one, second one, it will be little taste. Then by the time you eat 5 or 10, you don't like it anymore. The first what you had the taste in the beginning, you lose that taste afterwards, isn't it? But whereas in spiritual world, it's not like this. Always, the more you are there, the bliss just increases. Happiness just increases. That's what. Here, even a small thing is always, after some time, it is no more attractive. It is full of, and you might think, now we got this situation, now you have adjusted to this and all that. But the miseries will keep coming, it keeps changing. Then again, you have to readjust to another type of miseries or another type of situations. So his material world is always full of miseries and it is temporary. Whereas spiritual world, it will fulfill all your desires and it is very attractive because the Lord is there in front of you. And unmanifest to mundane eyes. You cannot see by your mundane eyes. Transcendental to manifest and animal. And think it doesn't get annihilated, whatever annihilates. And it's a supreme destination. That's the final destination for all the living entities. There is no place of return. And even in 15th chapter also, we get to know the same thing about this world. Then, so finally, what Krishna is coming to say is, this is the spiritual world we have to go. This is our destination. So we are part and parcel of him, and our thing is to go back to him by serving him, devotional service. So in this verse, but what happens to people who do mystic yoga, and what is their destination? Or what do you do by karma yoga, jnana yoga? So Krishna is covering that in these verses. And finally, he concludes that bhakti is the supreme, and that is the one which will help us to attain the supreme Lord. Okay. Yatra kaletva anavritam, avritam chaiva yogina, prayata yanti, tam kalam pakshami bharatsam. So what does he say here? O best of the Bharatas, I shall now explain to you the different times of by passing away from the world the yogi does or does not. So let us see what questions. O best of Bharata, I shall now explain to you the different times at which passing away from the world the yogi does or does not come back. Okay. So, unalloyed devotees of the Supreme Lord who are totally surrendered souls do not care when they leave their body or by what method. So, whatever thing they are not, because they are all the time in the remembrance of Lord and doing service to Him. So, they are in that state. So, they don't care whether they leave, when they leave, or whichever method. So, they leave everything in Krishna's hand. And so, easily and happily return to Godhead. But those who are not devotees, unalloyed devotees, or depend instead on such method of spiritual realization like karma yoga, jnana yoga, hatha yoga, must leave the body at a suitable time in order to be sure whether they are not. And this is not known. It's not only by accidentally, by some chance, if they leave at the proper time, they will not return to the thing. But most of the time, it is not so. If the yogi is perfect, he can select the time and situation for leaving this material body. But if he is not so expert, his success depends on his accidentally passing away at a certain suitable time. Okay. The suitable times at which one passes away and does not come back are explained by the Lord in the next verse. According to Acharya Baladev Vidyabhushan, the Sanskrit word kala used herein refers to the presiding deity of time. So Kala means it's the god of time, the deity of time. It's not the time. Okay? So in the next verse, what does Krishna say? Those who know the Supreme Brahman attain that Supreme by passing away from the world during the influence of the fiery god in the light at an auspicious moment of the day, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, or during the 6 months and the sun travels in the north. Uttarayana. So this is not so easily known, but it's a very mystic yogis only who practice and they come to know. And in Kali Yuga, this is a very difficult thing to know. But Krishna says that it is possible. It's not that people do and they get to know, but this was possible in the earlier yugas. Okay. When fire, light, day, and the fortnight of the moon are mentioned, it is to be understood that over all of them, there are various presiding deities who make arrangements for the passage of the soul. Okay. So when he talks about that, that depends upon Agni Deva, then Surya Deva, then there are many things like Chandra, who is in the deity for the moon and things like that. So at the time of death, the mind carries one on the path to a new life. If one leaves the body at the time designated above, either accidentally or by arrangement, it is possible for him to attain impersonal Brahmajyoti. He doesn't go back, but he goes to the impersonal Brahmajyoti. So, mystics who are advanced in yoga practice can arrange the time and place to leave the body. Others have no control. If by accident they leave at an auspicious moment, then they will not return to the cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, there's every possibility they'll have to return. So, for pure devotee in Krishna consciousness, there is no fear of return. Whether release the body at an auspicious moment or inauspicious by accident or arrangement. Okay. So here Krishna is very clear in this way. When he gives he doesn't leave anything for doubt. So he is explaining every little thing. People, how the mystics go, and how people by accident, if they go in an auspicious moment, they will go back to his abode. Otherwise, they have to come down and things. So the mystic who passes away from this during smoke, night, fortnight, when the sun passes, that there's something like Uttarayana and this thing, Dakshinayana. So that is there in the thing where they go. But it's not clearly explained much. So yogis and jnanis, if they go in the light, they can attain Brahmajyoti. Karma kandis in darkness. So normally they keep going to heavenly planets and they return to earth. Devotees, anytime they can leave and they will reach Krishna. Because they are always remembering Krishna. Whereas these people, it all by they're depending on their punya and karma, they can go to heavenly planets or to low, but they have to be in the cycle of birth and death. Yogis, at the most, they can go to Brahmajyoti, but after their thing is over, they have to come back to Earth planet. So this is the ways of leaving the body, which here Krishna has explained that. So finally, it concludes that Naiti Sri Pata Jnana Janan Yogi Muyati Kanchana Tasmat Sarveshu Kaleshu Yoga Yukta Bhavaja. Although the devotee knows these two parts, or jhana, they are never bewildered. Therefore, he is always fixed in devotion. So though he knows all that, but he will only take to devotional service because he knows that, because he is fixed in devotion to the Lord Krishna. So he knows he leaves everything in the care of the Lord. Okay. Vedeshu yajneshu tapasu chaiva daneshu yat punya phalam pratishtam atyati tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param sthanam upaiti chat. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the supreme. So, bhakti includes all benefits. So, just taking to devotional service and doing that, you will get the results from, that is what you get the result from studying Vedas. Vedas means you will be knowing the Lord, performing austerities, charity, and all that. So all that punya you will get just by taking the path of devotional service. And this is what our Prabhupada that followed and he practiced, and he made us for teachings are that the followers just practice that. That is, they took to deity worship, they took the restricted, whatever the restrictions the Acharya has given them, they followed that, and they took to chanting Hare Krishna and doing whatever the instructions the master gave them, whatever work they gave. And they were in that path of devotional service. They were reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, deity worship, taking prasadam, and following regulatory principles and spreading the Krishna. Always being in the consciousness of the Lord Krishna. So this is what Prabhupada came up, followed, and this is the ISKCON thing. Okay. So this chapter is fully about how to remember Krishna, why to remember Krishna, and what is the benefit, and why supreme devotional service is the only thing which can take us to it, because only that will help us to remember him even at the final hour. Antakale kale. Otherwise, it is not difficult. So by practicing Krishna consciousness, by practicing devotional service, we will be able to remember him even at the time. And we no need to be scared of the death. Okay. What body we'll get in the next janma and all, we need not be bothered because we can remember him in the final. So this is what Krishna is telling us. And no doubt about it, because it's coming from the Supreme Lord itself, how to go back to him. Okay. So this is what the Krishna is overview, summary. Even Arjuna's questions. So Krishna says, remember him at the time of death. And by practicing, we have to practice. And we have to desire for it. Only if we desire that we need to go back to the Lord, then we can start practicing. And pure devotional service. Then he compared the material world and the spiritual world. And he talked about when it gets annihilated, when it gets manifested and manifested state, and where do we go and reside during that. So if we are intelligent, then we'll remember to not to leave this material world, because this is the place of miseries and temporary. Okay. And he talked about how bhakti is the supreme bhakti yoga, and you get all the benefits and we'll be sure of success. And sure of success. Guaranteed success is guaranteed if you take the devotional service. Whereas if you do that Ashtanga yoga and yogic practice, is very troublesome and it's not that easy. And at the most, if you don't do bhakti, meditate on the Lord and you'll be at the most reach the Brahma Jyoti, but you have to come back to the earth, planet Earth, to again be in the cycle of birth and death. So this is a summary of that. So let us Vancha kalpatra abhyascha kripa sindeva cha patitam na pavnebho